Hello, this is Eileen, the Environmental Educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about a headline I saw out on Environmental News Network, which is how to pull carbon dioxide out of seawater. And I had heard about this for a while. Here's CO2 capture from seawater. Okay, there's a lot of places that have articles about this sustainability or growth. Why not? That actually talks about it. Ocean-based carbon dioxide removal. Um, could ocean hold the key to reducing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? There's a lot of articles out here. Direct removal of carbon dioxide from ocean water. Yeah, it's been talked about how to pull carbon out of seawater. So it's been talked about. Now, the CNN article says that, it really isn't in production um, because basically nobody's come into the area. It says, but like air capture systems, the idea has not yet led to widespread use, yet there are a few companies attempting to enter the area. Now, the question is, of course, should this even be an area? Okay, all these articles here, all of these MIT professors and engineers and intelligent people that are talking about this and driving it and coming up with processes how to do it. Not one of them mentioned the actual solution that we need, which is simply to reduce emissions, not just of carbon dioxide, but of everything. Our toxins, our chemicals, our unwanteds, they are in use all day, every day, and all the products that we use, the processes to make the products we use, and the packaging and transportation packaging, and the trucks that get everything from place to place to place, even from manufacturing plant to the next manufacturing plant, like, the packaging's manufactured, it gets transported. I mean, it's just so many processes that use so many things that everybody's like, oh, we should really be cutting back on that, but nobody does. And then what do the geniuses do? They go out and they, instead of curbing it at the source, stopping the bleeding, they're out trying to mop up. Okay, and this is what this removing carbon from the ocean is. It's about mopping up, which is actually ridiculous because there's absolutely no argument about it. The oceans are our largest carbon dioxide sinks, okay? And the oceans absorb carbon dioxide like a cup of coffee absorbs sugar. And the oceans are the biggest carbon dioxide sinks, which, they say that that leads to problems where the oceans are warming, and just even by thermal expansion, warmer water, takes up more area than cold water. The oceans will rise. There's ocean acidification. There's the removal of oxygen from the ocean that they're saying is based on this carbon. But, one of the big reasons they say we need to remove carbon from the ocean, right here, this article says it right down here. If CO2 is taken out of the water, the ocean will then pull more from the air. What? So you're going to have a ton of high-tech processes pulling carbon dioxide out of the ocean so that the ocean can take more in. That Okay, this is what the geniuses come up with instead of stopping the bleeding. Okay, so this article, it says that oceans make up 71% of the planet's surface. They influence weather and climate by absorbing solar radiation, distributing heat and associated moisture throughout the ocean into the atmosphere and around the globe, and driving global weather systems. I mean, check, that is true. That is absolutely true. And then it says after 110,000 years of relative stability in this ocean climate dynamic, the effects of the last 170 years of accumulated greenhouse gas emissions now threaten the stability of the entire system. Elevated greenhouse gases trap an enormous amount of extra heat from the sun, 90% of which has gone into the ocean, wreaking havoc on numerous functions and systems in the ocean, including loss of oxygen. Additionally, roughly 30% of all the excess CO2 that has been absorbed into the upper layer of the ocean causes it to become more acidic. Efforts to restore the health of the ocean cannot ultimately succeed without resolving the underlying driver of harm, far too much CO2 and other greenhouse gas pollution in our air and water. So yeah, most of the CO2 that's absorbed in the ocean, it stays in the upper layer of the ocean. So that's warming faster than the bottom layer, and these are all fine systems, okay, that have worked in sync. And when you start getting systems out of whack, it's somewhat unpredictable as to what can happen. But things can happen, including even the ocean pump, where colder, denser water sinks at the tropics. But if we're, you know, heating up the upper layer of the ocean, that could slow down the ocean sink, which would slow down ocean circulation, and then all of the heat, driving systems around the planet. If it wasn't for, the ocean and wind sending heat from the tropics to the poles and then cool from the poles to the tropics, the poles would be much, much colder and the tropics would be much, much warmer. So there really is a, a fair balance, a fine balance of processes that humans probably don't even fully understand. But that balance has been set by nature. And we can definitely affect that balance. Now, this is really, the only article that talks about this, but uh, they the other people that are going out and trying to find out methods to extract carbon dioxide from the ocean aren't addressing it from this angle, at least not in the articles I read here. So this article here says that um, the oceans contain vastly elevated concentrations of carbon dioxide compared to the atmosphere, around 140 times higher. One of these articles says 150 times higher. Okay, and it says an industrial scale carbon capture solution to remove this climate change inducing substance from the ocean has the potential to remove and sequester billions of tons of carbon dioxide per year. But why don't we just stop it? Why have all these processes to just stop it? And why are we pulling it out so that we can continue to be admitting it and then have the oceans just draw it in again? I mean, this is just a whole ridiculous circular thinking that is nobody is just thinking actual solutions, and no one in power will actually allow solutions. They'll fund this ridiculousness, but fund actual just reducing? No. That'd be too simple. That'd be too simple. But it's what's needed. And these people, they want to remove it and make seashells. And if you read this, it doesn't really sound like they're making seashells, but it says in a lab, the scientists started testing new technology that could speed up the process of turning carbon dioxide into minerals. The seawater the machine pulls in goes through a mesh that gives the water an electric charge. That triggers chemical reactions that combine dissolve CO2 with calcium and magnesium in the water, creating limestone and magnesite. These materials, essentially ground up seashells, can either be disposed of on land or released back into the ocean. The seawater can also flow back into the ocean where it can absorb more CO2. So they're not really making seashells, it doesn't sound like. It's ground up of what seashells are made of, ground up pieces. But why? Again, why? Ignoring the absolute just needed solution. We're talking about just high tech processes, a whole new industry for ridiculousness. And that, I guess, what I call ridiculousness here in this article, it says is being done by UCLA research. And right, it says here that, per unit volume, seawater holds nearly 150 times more carbon dioxide than the air. And so the technology would extract it from seawater, enabling the seawater to absorb more, like the other articles said. And who else is talking about this in schools? Well, California Institute of Technology, right here, the University of North Dakota. You kind of maybe wouldn't think of North Dakota caring about the ocean, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology are all putting money, time, and effort into this process, coming up with a process, a better process, trying to make it so that it's, put into application. So this article here on Tech Explorist, how to pull carbon out of seawater, it says that, yeah, the oceans absorb about 30 to 40% of our gas emissions. That's they're working hard because we do emit a lot of CO2. It's 20 pounds of carbon dioxide for every mile you drive. Most cars. Okay. Well, actually less. Okay. That's if you get 20 miles per gallon, because every gallon of gas you burn emits 20 pounds of carbon dioxide. So if you get 20 miles per gallon, you're emitting a pound of carbon dioxide for every mile you drive. If you get 10 miles to the gallon, you're emitting 2 pounds of carbon dioxide for every mile you drive. If you get 40 miles per gallon, you're emitting a half a pound of carbon dioxide for every mile you drive. And you think about how much people drive all over the world every day. Yeah, we're emitting a lot from our driving, and the oceans take in about 30 to 40% of that. So, all of these great MIT minds and others, I'm sure these aren't the only schools, and then there's private companies that are getting in on this, trying to figure out how we can remove carbon dioxide from the oceans. And nobody but nobody is talking about stopping the bleeding, the number one thing you do. So just like, talking about removing it from the air, Bill Gates is about it. Earthshot Prize just awarded somebody who's taking a minuscule amount out. I've done videos about it. They take nothing out in a year in comparison to what we're emitting, especially if we just stopped abusive emissions, like the electricity's on and no one's using it. That right there, we could stop Mickey Mousing around with the oceans and taking carbon out and just letting Earth's natural processes work. But no, everybody in charge is looking for high tech, and what you always need is low tech. Keep it simple, and that's me right here. If anybody would allow solutions, we wouldn't be talking about taking carbon out of the ocean, because we would have already solved this problem if anybody had allowed solutions since November 93. So every time you hear about ridiculousness like this, remember, nobody will allow real solutions. These alleged brilliant people aren't actually stopping the bleeding. They're just creating processes and industries that we don't need, and they're not really even addressing the problem. So stay tuned, people.